Good morning. Greetings and welcome to everyone present and to those of you watching online. I'm Catherine Belisle and I'll be your service leader this morning. I invite you to take a couple of deep breaths, relax, and go into your heart as we begin with a prayer. Relaxing, I allow myself to feel the love and peace of the one infinite, all-knowing presence that is the ultimate truth of my being. I affirm that the power of this presence is the only power in my life, and I call upon it for my safety, health, and happiness. For this all-powerful support, I am eternally grateful, and so it is. Today, we welcome back Rev. Phil Smedstad to share more about this one presence and one power. And we're grateful that Claire Vandekramer has come back to inspire us with her beautiful music. So thank you for being with us today, Phil and Claire. Thank you. Claire, let's start with our opening song, I Choose Love, which is the very essence of the one presence. So please stand.
Peace in my life is growing because I choose love. Love's always present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one tie that binds us that can't be undone. I choose love. Peace for our planet is growing because I choose love. Let love be present, it's what we're made of. I choose love. We are a part of each other. We are one. One choice unites us, let love be the one. I choose love. I choose love.
Now we'd like to honor those who are new to our service, either in person or online, with a special blessing. Together, we offer you peace, love, and friendship. We bless you, and we're glad you're here. So I'd like to say a few words about Rev. Phil Smedstad, our minister of record. We consider ourselves most fortunate to have him as our guiding light as we navigate this transitional period. He speaks 2 Sundays a month and sits on our board, and we appreciate the expertise he's garnered over the years and decades of experience in Unity churches as senior, founding, and transitional minister. Besides founding 2 Unity churches, Rev. Phil founded and ran the Theophilus Divinity School in Minneapolis, where he and his wife taught spiritual transformation for 14 years. As I mentioned earlier, his talk today is titled One Presence, One Power. Welcome, Rev Phil.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now Lynn will ring our Tibetan bells to center us and read the daily word and our prayer box blessing.
We now move deeper into spirit with the reading of the daily word. The word for today, March 12th, 2023, is illuminate. I welcome the light. Taking a moment to appreciate the beauty of a sunset, I realize that in another part of the world, the first rays of a rising sun are bringing light to a morning sky. Whether I can see it or not, the sun never stops shining. Somewhere, a new day is dawning. Much more brilliantly than the sun, the light of God, too, is always shining. Sometimes my thoughts may be so focused on a challenging life situation that I do not sense this divine light. Then, in a flash of insight, I experience again the illuminating presence that, even in my darkest moments, is as near as my next thought. I affirm, let there be light. I breathe out frustration and worry. Breathing in, I am filled with the light of truth that illuminates my mind and shines from within my heart. And the Bible verse is from Genesis 1:3. Then God said, let there be light, and there was light. Again, the word for today is illuminate. Let us bring our attention to the prayer box. I invite you to silently add your own name and the names of anyone in your heart or on your mind who may need prayer support. We know that the truth behind all appearance of disharmony is the divine and perfect presence of God. We call forth within all people the wisdom and strength, the love and peace, the wholeness and vitality of this presence. We declare that divine healing power and wisdom is restoring, healing, and harmonizing our world, and guiding our leaders for the highest good of all in this very moment. We bless our global family and hold us all in the light of love and peace. We affirm that the requests in our prayer box and in our hearts and on our minds are being resolved in divine timing for the highest good of all concerned. May the love of God enfold us. May the peace of God uphold us. May the wisdom of God inspire us and help us to know in our hearts that all is well. And so it is. So please join me in our affirmation for the day. Together, here we go. Okay, together, there is just one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. And our affirmation for our spiritual center. Together, we give thanks that Unity of the Valley is a prosperous, thriving, inspired, connected community. We are growing spiritually and manifesting our dreams and goals in an energy of love, peace, and joy. Namaste.
We do have words, so if you feel so inspired, please join in. The light of spirit surrounds us. The love of spirit enfolds us. The power of spirit protects us. All is well. The light of spirit surrounds us. The love of spirit enfolds us. The power of spirit protects us. All is well. Wherever we are, there is spirit. Wherever we are, there is spirit. All is well, all is well, all is well, all is well. Wherever we are, there is spirit. Wherever we are, there is spirit. All is well, all is well, all is well, all is well.
Thank you, Claire. And good morning, everyone. Let's take time now for a few minutes of meditation as we remind ourselves all is well. All is well for us personally. All is well for our families. All is well for this ministry. All is well for our world. So, I invite you to close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. And just notice if there's any tension or worry of any sort in your body. And if there is, just draw it all to your solar plexus. And then take a deep breath in and just let it go. I choose love. Once again, I'm going to invite you to let this be a time to experience God's love. We spend so much time talking about God and thinking about God and studying about God, hearing about God. Let's just take a few minutes to experience God as love. So bring to mind whoever that person is in your life, or one of them at least, who is the easiest person for you to love. Just bring that person right in front of you. And let yourself feel all the love that you have for him or her. Just turn up your love as much as is there to turn up. Celebrating the love that you have for this person. And now, I also invite you to bring into your mind a picture of the person you were as a child. Perhaps a young child, as young as you can recall a picture. Bring that child's face right up close. Look into that child's eyes. And tell him or her, I love you without conditions. You are completely lovable, and I love you. And then let yourself feel as much love for this little one as you felt for whoever else that was that you visualized. Turn up your love as much as you can. Because that's what you deserve. And then, into this scene, also bring to mind a picture of yourself sometime later, a time when the person you were could use a little love. Maybe you felt like you had done something wrong or somehow weren't lovable. So bring that picture to mind. And once again, turn up your love for whoever you were at that point in your life. Let yourself feel the love that you have. Because this person too is you and deserves love. So just take a few minutes, just a few moments rather, in the silence now to let yourself feel the love that you are. The love that you deserve to feel. Knowing that you are that one presence and one power called God. And that you are love. For a few moments in the silence. And then for however much you've been able to feel the love that you are, for however much you have been able to love those people that you were in the past and that you still are, just let yourself thank God in you. Thank you, Spirit. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Amen.
I'm often on the hunt for new music to fit.
Maybe that's some right there.
There you go. I'm hearing things. We all are, right? when I was looking this week, it's never a good sign when I've spent most of the day on the couch and he says, "Claire, what are you doing?" And it's really difficult when it dissolves into watching animal videos on YouTube. So I gave up the hunt, at least thought I did, and went on with other things, and the song decided to present itself and write itself. So this is called The Power of Amazing Grace. In the silence of a sunrise, the ending of each day, in the rain that's fallen gently on your window pane, such a miracle and wonder in each and every place. When we stop to feel the power, peace and grace, it's a mystery unfolding before our very eyes. Wonder leaves us breathless, no matter how we try to explain it using words. Well, the words just can't replace. When we stop to feel the power, peace and grace. The grace in every moment, the peace within your heart, the power in the knowing that it lives in every part of a never-ending circle of love here in this place. The power of amazing grace. It's the beginning and the middle, and it never has an end. An overwhelming presence that's hard to comprehend. But if we stop and take a breath, we can feel it in this place. The power of amazing grace. The grace in every moment, the peace within your heart, the power in the knowing that it lives in every part of this never-ending circle of love here in this place. The power of amazing grace. The power of amazing grace.
Well, thank you, Claire. I think you have another hit there. And what's wrong with animal videos anyway? I love watching animal videos. I don't think it's that I've fallen to that. I think I've risen to it. I'd like to share a story with you that I found in Chicken Soup for the Christian Soul. An English school teacher was looking for an apartment in Switzerland. She called upon the local schoolmaster to help her find an apartment that would be suitable. such rooms were found, and she returned to London for her belongings. And she remembered that she had not noticed a bathroom, or as she called it, a water closet. She wrote to the schoolmaster and asked if there was a WC in or near the apartment. The schoolmaster, not knowing the English expression, was puzzled by the WC, never dreaming that she was talking about a bathroom. He finally sought advice from the parish priest. They concluded that she must mean a wayside a wayside chapel. The woman received a letter a few days later. Dear Madam, the WC is located 9 miles from the house, in the heart of a beautiful grove of trees. It will seat about 150 people at one time, and is open Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. Some people bring their lunch and make a day of it. On Thursdays, there is an organ accompaniment. The acoustics are wonderful. The slightest sound can be heard by everyone. It may interest you to know that my daughter met her husband at the WC. The letter continued. My wife, being rather delicate, hasn't been able to attend regularly. It's actually been 6 months since she last went. Naturally, it pains her not to go more often. I will close now with the desire to accommodate you in every way possible, and will be happy to save you a seat, either down front or near the door, as you prefer. Unity's first basic principle of the 5 is the one that we just affirmed this morning. There is just one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. Sometimes fundamentalists ask us, how can you say that there's no devil or no evil? After all, they say, Jesus talks about both Satan and evil. In Matthew 16:23, Jesus said to Peter, "Get behind me, Satan." And that was when Peter had pulled out his sword when Jesus was about to be arrested. In John 8:44, Jesus said, "Satan is a liar and the father of lies." And in Matthew 7, verse 11, he said, "If you, being evil," and the word that we have, what we translate as evil, is bisha in Aramaic. "If you, being bisha, know how to give good gifts to your children, how much more will your heavenly parent give good gifts to you?" So, let's talk about evil first. There's a story told that in a certain philosophy class at a university, the professor said to his class that he wanted to talk about the problem of evil. First, he said, "I want to ask you a question." He said, "Did God create everything that exists?" One student said, "Most definitely so." The professor said, "Well, if that's the case, then God created evil. Since evil exists, that must mean that God is evil, because we are all defined by our creations." And he said to himself, kind of self-satisfactorily, that he had just proven that the whole idea of God was a myth. One student raised his hand and said, "Professor, does cold exist?" This was at a northern university, and it was in the middle of winter. The professor said, "Well, of course it exists. All you have to do is walk outside, and you'll see." The student said, "Actually, sir, cold doesn't exist. Cold, from a physics point of view, is simply the absence of heat." And then he said, "Professor, I have another question. Does darkness exist?" The professor said, Of course, darkness exists. It was already getting late in the afternoon, so it was getting dark. Once again, the student said, "Sir, you are mistaken again. Actually, darkness doesn't exist. Darkness is not something that we can study. Light we can study. But darkness is simply the absence of light, as cold is simply the absence of heat." And he said, "Professor, you say that evil exists." And the professor gave him all kinds of examples of evil in the world. And the student said, "Once again, Professor, evil doesn't exist of itself. Evil is simply the lack of God's love in our hearts." And that is all that he had to say. The story is told that this student was Albert Einstein. So just because there's a force or energy of light doesn't mean that there's also a force or energy of darkness. And just because there's a force or energy of heat doesn't mean that there's also a force or energy of cold. And just because there's a force or energy of wholeness and love does not mean that there is also a force or energy of evil. I came across another story the other day about a certain rabbi whose students wanted to talk to him about the problem of evil in the world. They wanted to know what to do about it. They wanted to drive it out. They wanted to get rid of it. And asked the rabbi what to do. The rabbi said, "Well, here's what I want you to do first. I want you to each take a broom down into the cellar and sweep out the darkness." The students said to themselves and each other, "Well, that's ridiculous, of course, but we love the rabbi, so we'll do as he asks." So, of course, they went down there. Nothing happened. They came back up, and the rabbi said, "Now, take big sticks, each of you. Go down there and see if you can beat the darkness out of the cellar." And obviously, once more, nothing happened. Then he said, "Now, I want you to take a candle and some matches, go down to the cellar and light the candle." And obviously, what happened is the darkness simply disappeared. As I said, in Aramaic, the word for evil is bisha, and it means unripe or immature. As Dr. Rocco Errico, the Aramaic Bible scholar, said, he said that in the Middle East, if you were going to describe a green fig, one that was not yet ready to eat, you would call it bisha. Simply means, it doesn't mean the fig is bad, it just means it's not ripe yet. In Romans 12, Paul said, "Do not resist evil," or that is, do not resist immaturity, "but overcome immaturity with maturity." In unity, we say, when people act in an evil manner, it only means that fear, rather than love, is running their life. Does anybody remember the television show Hour of Power with Robert Schuller? Some of us do. Some of us are old enough to remember that. One day on his show, Robert Schuller was, and of course he was talking to every vast audience in the United States, and he said, he was quoting Jerry Jampolsky, the author of Love is Letting Go of Fear. And he said, Jampolsky is right. It's not love and hate, it's love and fear. And fear, as we know, is simply the lack of love. Now let's talk about Satan. Satan is a Semitic word, and it comes from the root sata. It means to deceive, to cause to slip, to slide, or to go astray. Sometimes Islamic fundamentalists call the United States the Great Satan. They do that because they see how many of us here in this country put materialism first before God. So to Semitic people, which of course Jesus was one of, Satan meant anything or anyone that causes us to slip, to slide, or to go astray. And that included Peter, of course, the night before his crucifixion, when Peter drew his sword. Jesus knew what was coming. He knew also that what was coming was an aspect of his ministry that he needed to do. He also knew that death isn't real, and it's not the enemy. Some Christian fundamentalists also say Satan's best trick is to convince us that he doesn't exist. To which my response is, I don't think that's Satan's best trick at all. I think Satan's best trick is to convince us that he's somewhere outside of us. Some of you also might be in my age category and might be old enough to remember the comic strip Pogo. And Pogo, every once in a while, used to say, "We has met the enemy, and he is us." So, Dr. Jampolsky said, in the Bible, he said this one day as I was listening to him give a Sunday message at a Unity church. He said, in the Bible, the words, whenever you see the word Satan, you can substitute the word ego, and you'll have what it means. And as you know, I define the ego as who we believe we are when we feel separate from God and each other. The ego in each of us is a state of mind based on survival and the belief that we are bodies. It really is a liar and the father of lies. For example, our ego will tell us that fear, lack, and separation are real, whereas love, oneness, and abundance are not. The ego says that we have a will that's different from God, which is not true. The ego also says that surrendering to God means loss. Also not true. So the ego is a liar and the father of lies. Dr. Gary Simmons, in his book, The Eye of the Storm, which I love, says this: one presence and one power means living with no one and nothing against us. He goes on to say that many of us have created a second power, an enemy. And we often say things like, well, there's God, and then there's this evil force called cancer. Or there's God, and then there's my angry boss. Wayne Dyer said, in my world, nothing ever goes wrong. And I totally agree with that. In my world, nothing ever goes wrong either. About 15 years ago, my wife Laura was diagnosed with breast cancer when we were in Hartford, Connecticut, and I was the transitional minister there. She had a biopsy, and then she had to schedule a lumpectomy. And the first thing Laura did when she heard the news about her having breast cancer, she said, "What am I trying to tell myself?" And she realized that for her, what she had done in her life was that she had given up on the idea of becoming a psychotherapist because she thought she was too old. She decided that this was a wake-up call. And so right then and there, she started to go in the direction of getting a master's degree in counseling and psychology. And when the lumpectomy happened, afterward, the surgeon called and said, "I don't get to say good news like this very often, but we can't find any cancer cells anywhere." And she said, "I know, I've checked with a colleague of mine, and we both know they were there, and they're not there anymore." In my life, about 10 years ago, I was told that I had a liver that was malfunctioning and that my enzymes were way too high. Well, I looked it up in Louise Hay's book about loving your body and saw that it had to do with anger. So I redoubled my efforts to focus more on forgiveness, going deeper than I had ever done before. And now my enzyme levels are just fine. One of my favorite Bible stories is about the Old Testament character Jacob. Because of his manipulation and trickery, Jacob had to flee from his home. So he's out in the desert, and he's thinking to himself, there's no way to connect with God out here. The reason he thought that was back in those days, people believed that God just lived where they lived, that God wasn't everywhere, but only at their home. So that night, as he lay down to sleep in the desert, he had a dream. And in the dream, there were angels ascending and descending on a ladder between earth and heaven. When he woke up in the morning, and in the Bible, metaphysically, in the morning or whenever we wake up, is like when we suddenly come to realize something that we hadn't realized before. In the morning, he said, surely God is in this place, and I didn't know it. The word angel actually means messenger. So here's a question. Is there somewhere in your life where God seems absent? Whenever we have a difficult or painful experience, it's a wake-up call, as it was for Laura and as it was for me. It's a messenger. It's an angel that is not here to harm us, but to help us. In the morning, that is, when we wake up, we realize this is here to give me a gift. Then we too say, surely God is in this experience, and I just didn't know it. For 6 years, I was the minister of the Unity Church in Key West, Florida. And during that time, I was a member of the Interfaith Ministerial Alliance. And each year, our alliance had a service for AIDS on a weeknight evening. And in that service, we would honor those who had died of AIDS. And it was also a fundraiser for anyone who was living with AIDS and, needed some financial help. At one of those services, I remember one of the ministers saying, why does God allow AIDS? Well, in Unity, we know that God isn't a being, just as the devil isn't a being. God is the very force of love. Here's what Emily Cady said in Lessons in Truth. She said, God is not a being with qualities or attributes. Rather, God is the good itself coming into expression as love, power, wisdom, and life energy. And I also came across this quote from a student of Stephen Levine. Stephen Levine was a very active teacher, wrote a lot of books, but spent a lot of time working with people who were dying. And one of his students said, 3 years ago, I was graced with cancer. I looked my whole life for a teacher, and it wasn't until I got cancer that I really started to pay attention to the preciousness of each breath, to the momentum of each thought, till I saw that this moment is all. He said, all my other teachers gave me ideas. This teacher, this angel, caused me to directly experience my life. When I got cancer, it was up to me to get born before I died. So how do we experience this one presence and one power in our life? We experience it as divine, unconditional love, both for ourselves and for the others in our world. We experience it as the divine power of creation when we realize that nothing, literally nothing, happens to us. Everything in life happens through us, and everything is also for us. We experience it as divine guidance, and we experience it as abundant aliveness. The Apostle Paul in Romans 8 said, all things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to God's purpose. All things really do work together for good, as long as we know that our true purpose here is twofold. First part of our purpose is to heal any sense of separation we've had from God and other people. And the second part is to become all that we came here to be. If there's anywhere in your life where it seems God is not present here, ask the Holy Spirit in you to reveal it as the angel that it is. The Holy Spirit is the aspect of God that is constantly drawing us upward toward being all we came here to be. As you learn how to turn problems into blessings, you will join Jacob in saying, surely God is in this experience and I didn't know it, but I know it now. Namaste.
There's a lot to digest there. I really liked your joke, too. It's good to laugh. It's good to laugh. I kind of had that idea today as well, as far as needing to laugh a little. So I decided it's time to call upon the wisdom of Monty Python. And we're going to have some of that today. I was thinking about the vastness of whatever you want to call it. And it gets to be a cosmic sort of thing. And the definition of cosmic is inconceivably vast. And so this is about something that is inconceivably vast. It's called the Galaxy Song. Whenever life gets you down and things seem hard or tough and people are mean, obnoxious, or daft, and you feel that you've quite had enough, just remember that you're standing on a planet that's evolving and revolving at 1,000 miles an hour. It's orbiting at 19 miles a second, so it's reckoned the sun is the source of all our power. The sun and you and me and all the stars that we can see are moving at 1,000,000 miles a day in an outer spiral arm 40,000 miles an hour in the galaxy we call the Milky Way. Our galaxy itself contains 400 billion stars, 1,100 light years side to side. It bulges in the middle, 16,000 light years thick, but out by us it's just 3,000 light years wide. 30,000 light years from galactic central point, going round every 200 million years. And our galaxy is one of only millions and of billions in this amazing and expanding universe. So lighten up, there are stars out in the sky. Lighten up, we don't even know why. We don't have all the answers and neither do I. So why don't we just all lighten up? The universe itself keeps on expanding and expanding in all of the directions it can whiz. As fast as it can go, the speed of light, you know. 12 million miles a minute, that's the fastest that there is. So remember when you're feeling very small and insecure, how amazing and unlikely is your birth. And pray that there's intelligent life somewhere out in space, 'cause we haven't really found that much on Earth. So lighten up, there are stars out in the sky. Lighten up, we don't even know why. We don't have all the answers and neither do I. So why don't we just all lighten up? There are stars out
Thank you, Claire. What a fun song. And that lighten up made me think of the story you told about bringing the light into the cellar and illuminating the darkness and then the big universe. It made me just think about how powerful we are as divine beings and the light we can bring into the darkness of our lives. So thank you both very much. Thank you. So it's now time in our service for our love offering. This commitment in giving is part of our community's spiritual practice to develop our trust in Spirit or God as our source and in the law of giving and receiving. As we give our love offering from our hearts, we gratefully accept our own good in return. Let us read together our love offering affirmation. Together, divine love flowing through me blesses and multiplies all that I give, all that I receive, and all that I am.
I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful. I am so blessed.
We've each given as individuals or as part of an individual family. And now it's a time for all of us together to receive these gifts as a spiritual family. So let's feel our gratitude to infinite life moving through all of us as our unlimited source. Please join me in this blessing. Together. Thank you, God, for providing all the resources we need to accomplish our mission of transforming lives. We dedicate these gifts to your service and to the blessing of our larger community through all we teach and do here at Unity of the Valley. Amen. Our announcements today reflect our desire and efforts to help transform lives. So I hope you'll take advantage of these opportunities. Today, after the service, Rev Phil is offering the second session of his two-session workshop entitled The Birth of the Christ in You. If you didn't pre-register or you missed the first class but you would like to join today, no worries, please come. You may pay $15 for the one session or whatever you can. The class will be in the 12 Powers room and it will start at 11:20. A little earlier than the 11:30 advertised. On Monday, March 20th, the Valley Book Club will continue discussing Rev Phil's book, Real Wealth. You're welcome to come even if you didn't make the first discussion. There's plenty to discuss. So if you don't have the book yet, they're on the glass table in the bookstore for a love offering, and you just put that in the box next to them. Medium Christina Rawls will be returning on April 16th to give a talk titled, What It's Like on the Other Side of the Veil. She's inviting us to provide questions for her to answer based on her experiences and given the time she has. To that end, those of you present have slips of paper in your bulletin, and you can write your questions on that and leave it in the basket in the hallway. And those of you online may email questions to our office at info@unityofthevalley.mn.org. Christina is excited that this visit, she can let her professional persona rest and just be her happy medium self. As before, she's offering mediumship readings from 11:45 to 2:45 in the 12 Powers room. This time, you'll need to bring your own snack to eat between the service and the readings. So please register online and sign up by the kiosk so that we can contact you if need be. As before, the cost is $40 to get a reading or connect with someone in spirit and $25 to observe. And remember that our partly guided, partly silent meditation is Tuesdays from 11 to 11:30, live on our Facebook page. And finally, if you'd like one-on-one prayer support after the service, Prayer Chaplain Peggy Hendrickson would be honored to pray with you. Just meet her over by the side door. All right, do we have any children today? No? All right, let's please stand and say our prayer for protection together. The light of God surrounds us. We are that light. The love of God enfolds us. We are that love. The power of God protects us. We are that power. The presence of God watches over us. We are that presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Claire, please lead us in our closing song, There Is Just One Presence. You can remain standing.
And I know you know it because I've heard you sing it before. I haven't ever played it before, but so isn't this going to be interesting? There is just one presence, just one power in all the world. There is just one presence, just one power in my life. There is just one presence, just one power. God is with us each and every hour. Just one presence, just one power in my life. One more time. There is just one presence, just one power in all the world. There is just one presence, just one power in my life. There is just one presence, just one power. God is with us each and every hour. Just one presence, just one power in my life. There is just one presence, just one power in my life.